My name is Kira Vale, and I'm 29 years old. There's a hush that lives under other people's laughter, the pocket of silence that knows when the truth is about to split the room. It sat with us the night of our engagement party, breathing in the space between a grocery store cake and the playlist that couldn't decide on a genre. 15 people, paper plates sliding, someone's plastic flute clinking too loud against a fake crystal rim. The ring on my finger, a simple $100 circle that Damon and I once called our starter promise, caught the kitchen light and winked like it knew more than I did. I used to love how light it felt. I thought that meant trust. Light enough to forget you're wearing it. Light enough to sleep with your hand on your chest and wake up smiling. Light, obvious, safe. That night, the air was heavy. Damon raised his glass. He'd put on the navy shirt I liked, the one that makes his shoulders look like a choice he meant to make. His smile was the public kind. Neat, rehearsed, surface bright. "Hey," he said, clearing his throat. "Quick toast." He didn't look at me. 15 heads turned. The silence found me and pressed its hand on my sternum. "We should cancel the wedding," he said. "I found someone better." Someone dropped a fork. The room made that sound crowds make when they're not sure whether to clap or flee. I took a breath I'd been saving for weeks. "Already done," I said. The word did a strange thing to his face, like he'd expected his reflection and found a wall. "What?" He blinked. Wait, what are you talking about?" "I canceled everything last week," I said. "Venue, catering, photographer, refunds are processing." I didn't bother to raise my glass. "Your things are in the hallway. 3 boxes, labeled." A laugh tried to escape the far end of the kitchen and died halfway out. He stared at me the way people stare at a closed door they were sure would open. "You packed my stuff?" "Tuesday," I said, "while you were at your poker night." I even gave him the air quotes he'd given me. Petty? Maybe. Accurate? Absolutely. Here's what Damon didn't know. 3 months ago, he left his tablet open on the coffee table, logged into messages while he showered. I wasn't snooping. I was setting a timer for the garlic bread. Notifications bloomed across the screen like bruises. I didn't scroll. I didn't have to. One thread was enough. Sarah. Her name in that cautious, coded way people use when they're hiding in plain sight. The kind of messages that make you forget to breathe on purpose. I did not confront him. I did not cry, not where he could see. I started planning. A lawyer over coffee. A notebook with dates and amounts. Screenshots saved to a cloud folder named after a dead plant. I learned things about laws you don't want to know unless you need to. What counts when you're engaged but not married? What refunds look like on paper? Where deposits go when you're the card holder who decides to end the party politely in advance? "Kira, this is..." He looked around the room like there might be an exit marked "do over." "You can't just... Those deposits were paid on my card," I said. "And the venue's refund policy is generous if you cancel 6 weeks out." Which I did, last Thursday. He swallowed hard enough to make a sound. "Sarah." I rolled the name in my head so I wouldn't say it out loud. I didn't need her in the room. Not yet. "I'm taking my money from the wedding account," he said, jaw tightening into an angle he thought looked strong. "All of it." "Great," I said, pulling out my phone. "Your contributions, $3,600, were already transferred back to your checking this morning." The room tilted. You could almost hear him doing math. That's not right," he said, waving a hand at the air. "I put in more." "You told me you did," I said, soft. "You put in exactly $3,600. His eyes flicked. The first crack. I could have let it go. I didn't. "About the other transfers," I added, and watched his throat move. "The ones where $200 a month slipped quietly into your secret savings, from the wedding fund." Someone coughed. Someone else whispered, "Wow." He tried to smile. "Kira, come on, you're overreacting." "You use the same password pattern for everything, Damon," I said. "I didn't touch your money, but you should know your old checking account from college, the one your dad Victor co-signed, still has him as joint owner, and he's... particular." A flush climbed his neck. There it was, fear disguised as irritation. "You told my dad?" he snapped. "Victor and I had lunch last month," I said. "We talk sometimes." I left out the part where he'd asked me, gently, if Damon was happy, and I'd pressed my napkin so tight my fingers hurt. He reached for his phone. The room had shifted. The crowd was still there, but they were audience now, not guests. My party had become a theater. The cake sweated icing under the lights. "You can't just... Kira, I'm with someone who... This isn't even about you and me," he said, and then he made the mistake of smiling. It's about compatibility. I looked at the ring. It looked back at me, small and honest. Is compatibility married with 2 kids? I asked lightly. Did Sarah forget to tell you that part, or did you forget to ask? He froze. The fork someone dropped earlier gleamed at our feet like punctuation. How do you... Victor plays golf with someone who works near where she works, I said. Small world. He tried her name on his tongue, then swallowed it like a stone. You're lying. Call her, I said. Use the work phone. She loves that. He didn't. He called anyway, but it wasn't her. He called the air, the moment, the version of himself where he was the one ending things and walking away tall. He got voicemail. He hung up. The room began to breathe again, unevenly, like it had just run a long way and wasn't sure why. He set the glass down too hard. Fine, he said. I'll pack my things and go. You're late, I said. They're already at the door. He moved toward the hallway without looking at anyone. People made space for him like he was a storm cloud they'd just noticed. On his way out, he turned. There was a flicker there I almost recognized. The boy in him who used to buy me gas station tulips and text me pictures of dogs on the train. You'll regret this, he said, not quite steady. I almost told him I already had, months ago, in the heart of a night where I learned what silence really weighs. Instead, I nodded at the labeled boxes. You forgot your charger, I said, and handed it to him. He left. Someone finally exhaled. A friend I didn't know well patted my shoulder the way you pat a couch to see if a stain is permanent. Do you want us to go? She asked. I looked around at the stray cups, at the ring that didn't feel light anymore, at the playlist that had given up and looped the same song. Yeah, I said gently. I think I want the night back. They filtered out, whispering. The last door clicked shut like a sentence ending. I washed the glasses alone. The water ran until the steam turned my face into a stranger in the window. I slid the ring off and set it on the counter, and for a long moment it looked exactly like what it was, a circle that doesn't know where to close. My phone buzzed. A text from Victor. Home safe? Call me if you need anything. I'm proud of you for keeping your head. Another buzz. An email from the venue confirming the refund had been initiated to my card. Subject line. Cancellation processed. 6 weeks notice met. I dried my hands, picked up the ring, put it in a drawer like a snow globe from a city I didn't live in anymore. Somewhere, Sarah was telling herself a story about winning. Somewhere, Damon was punching the elevator button and calling it control. Somewhere, the truth was writing itself in a straight line, and we were all pretending it was a maze. I turned off the lights and let the apartment be dark and honest for once. Tomorrow, I'd start packing my boxes, the ones labeled keep. Tonight, I let the quiet sit with me and do what it does best. Tell me what I already know. Morning has a way of making last night look like a rumor. I woke to dishes I didn't remember washing and a phone full of messages from people who suddenly had questions. I turned the phone face down. Questions are for later. Plans are for now. 3 months ago, the night the messages first lit up Damon's tablet, I went for a walk until the sky thinned out and the bakery opened. I bought coffee I didn't want and called a lawyer I barely knew. We met at a diner that smelled like hot syrup and tired secrets. She was blunt in a way that made the table feel steady. You're not married, she said, pen hovering. So think in terms of documentation and timelines. Who paid for what? Whose name is on what you can cancel, what you can prove. So I became a record. Screenshots with timestamps, a spreadsheet with 2 columns, what he said and what he did, a folder of contracts, venue, caterer, photographer, with the parts highlighted where it says refunds to original cardholder if canceled 6 weeks out. A clean, neutral email to each vendor. We will not be moving forward. Please process per contract. A Google Doc titled Exit, where I wrote lists until my hands steadied. Utilities to move, boxes to buy, people to alert, parts of me to remember. Damon came home late that week smelling like the inside of a rental car and told me poker night ran long. I told him dinner could be reheated. We kissed like old coworkers who used to date. At the end of the month, I sat on the floor with the ledger from our wedding fund. He'd insisted on separate savings. We'll combine after the wedding, he said with a grin that dared me to call it a red flag. Every deposit of mine had a screenshot. Every deposit of his had a whisper. His numbers didn't match his claims. $500 sworn, $300 visible. The missing $200 crawled into a personal cushion he thought I couldn't see. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I only needed to know. The oldest rope in our life was his college checking account, an account that never quite closed because inertia is its own religion. His father, Victor Whitlock, had co-signed back then, and the bank, lazy in the way institutions get when nobody sues them, still listed him as joint. When Victor and I had lunch, I didn't throw Damon under a bus. I just set the bus down on the table and let Victor decide whether to start the engine. He's been distant, I said. I pretended to focus on my salad. Victor watched me like a father who already knew the pop quiz and was waiting to see if I'd show my work. A week later, he texted, "If you need me to step in on anything, banks, logistics, say the word. I will not enable cruelty." Cruelty, I'd learned, didn't always look like slammed doors. Sometimes it looked like a hand over a screen and a laugh that didn't include you. After the engagement party imploded, I called Victor. I didn't ask permission. I brought him facts. He's been transferring $200 monthly from the wedding fund to a separate account. He told me he contributed $500. His actual net deposit is $300. I already returned his $300 total to his checking this morning. There was a pause, then the soft scrape of a chair. And the separate account? Still linked to his college checking, I said. Your name never came off. He used his old password pattern. Of course he did, Victor said dry. I'll handle the rest. At 10:13 a.m., Damon called me with the bright rage of a man whose mirrors had started telling the truth. What did you do to my funds? Nothing, I said, slicing tape across a box labeled Kitchen Keep. Victor moved money in an account he co-owns to protect it, as is his right. You went to my father? His voice pitched higher, adolescence breaking through the polish. This is between us, Kira. You made it between at least 4 people, I said, calm, almost bored, because boredom was the only thing that kept my hands from shaking. You, me, Sarah, and the person she promised to leave soon. He was quiet long enough that I could hear the color drain from his face. What do you think you know? That she's married with 2 kids, I said, and that you are a terrible judge of NDAs. You're lying. Call her, I repeated. Use the number her husband doesn't check. He hung up. 5 minutes later, Victor texted me a screenshot of a bank action. Term deposit established. Owner, Victor Whitlock. Note, funds held pending proof of marriage to a faithful partner. Victor's sense of humor is the kind that sits in courtrooms and smiles politely. Damon arrived 20 minutes after that, already mid-sentence. You don't get to... Your boxes are by the door, I said, pointing. Clothes, shoes, I put the cables and chargers together so you don't end up stealing mine. He scoffed, but he checked the charger piles anyway. You think this makes you clever? You think anyone will side with you when they hear you stole my... I didn't steal anything, I said, weary of this particular song. Your wedding contributions are back in your checking. Your secret cushion is under your father's key because he refuses to subsidize your affair. If you want to take a moral position, at least pick one with an address. He opened his mouth, closed it, then tried another street. You canceled the venue. Yes. You didn't even ask me. You didn't ask me if you could lie to me for 3 months, I said, and every word came out clear as glass. This is me learning your language. My phone lit up, a message from a number I didn't have saved, a small blue circle with an unsentimental name. Sarah. We should avoid contact for a while. Something came up. Family. He saw it over my shoulder and reached for the phone like grabbing would rewind time. I tilted it away. She's busy, I said. Something about a husband with a long memory and a short temper. Give me the phone. You have your own, I said. But maybe don't call the work line again. HR hates romance. He flinched, then did his favorite thing. Pretend consequence was an opinion. This is dramatic, he said, trying for a laugh and failing. You're making a scene. The scene was last night, I said. This is cleanup. He wheeled the first box to the hallway, then came back like he'd forgotten something, and it turned out to be dignity. He rubbed a hand over his face. You know, Kira, people trade up. It's not personal. I thought about the ring in the drawer, the way it had dug a faint circle into my skin like a memory of a promise, not the promise itself. I don't trade, I said. I return. He waited for me to cry. I didn't. He stared like I'd broken a rule no one wrote down. The elevator doors opened with their usual soft sigh. He was 2 steps into the hall when he turned and threw the last part of himself he thought I'd catch. You'll be alone, he said. You know that, right? It landed between us, small and mean and not true. After he left, I sat on the floor and let the apartment be a map. The keep boxes formed a perimeter. The donate stack leaned like a friend who tells you when you've had spinach in your teeth. A single maybe box waited for me to admit that I already knew the answer. By afternoon, the vendors had responded with polite corporate condolences and timelines for refunds. The venue's email was almost cheerful. Your deposit of $3,000 will return to the original card within 5-7 business days. We wish you the best. The photographer sent a heart emoji I didn't know what to do with. I put it in the maybe box and closed the lid. When dusk stretched the apartment long and low, Victor called. His voice carried the calm of a storm that had already decided where to rain. "I'm sorry," he said first, "and I'm not sorry at all." "You don't have to—" "I do," he said. "I raised a son who knows better. He forgot." I wanted to say Damon wasn't a child. I wanted to say it wasn't Victor's fault. I wanted to forgive someone out loud. Instead, I told him the only thing that felt healthy. "Thank you for not pretending." He exhaled. "For what it's worth," he added, "my friend's friend confirmed the rest. Sarah's husband hired counsel. Company HR has been notified about the use of the corporate card. Damon may soon discover the cost of optimism." "Optimism?" I said. "The kind that spends other people's money." After we hung up, I opened a new document on my laptop. New city, list. Apartments near the river, commute times. The start date at the job that had chased me for months, and I'd been afraid to accept because I didn't want to rock the boat I was already drowning in. I clicked accept on the offer, and the screen congratulated me like a confetti cannon in a quiet church. Somewhere across town, Damon was probably telling a story where I was unreasonable and he was brave. Somewhere, Sarah was learning the difference between a secret and a silence. Somewhere, a bank account sat very still, earning a modest interest and a sharper lesson. I labeled the last box bedroom, keep, and taped it shut. The apartment echoed in that way that means you're almost free. In the drawer, the ring waited without expectation. I left it there. It had done enough pretending for both of us. 2 weeks later, I woke up in a different city, different skyline, different silence, the kind that doesn't ask questions. The job started in 10 days, so I rented a small studio near the river, a place where nothing reminded me of blue shirts, wine glasses, or promises that came with expiration dates. The movers had dropped off my boxes, and I was still sleeping on the mattress on the floor when the first email came. Subject line, "You're a monster." Sender, Damon Whitlock. 19 more followed. Over the next 3 hours. They started in anger. "You planned this for months. Who does that?" Then slid into bargaining. "We made mistakes, Kira. Maybe we just need space. I'll come visit once you've calmed down." And ended in threats. "I know where you're working now. You think you can hide from this? I'll tell them who you really are." I didn't reply to any of them. Silence isn't weakness. It's insulation. By noon, I had an email from Victor instead. "Just FYI. Damon attempted to access the term deposit. Bank flagged it as unauthorized. I've locked all accounts. He's claiming emotional theft now. My patience is finite." Attached was a screenshot of Damon's frantic email to the bank, accusing his father of conspiring with me. Underneath, Victor's dry comment. The irony of a cheater accusing others of conspiracy is almost poetic. I smiled for the first time in days. Then came the venue refund. $3,000. Clean. Official. Electronic. Landed straight back into my card. 2 hours later, Damon's email hit. "Half that refund is mine. You stole from me. Send my share by tomorrow or I'm lawyering up." I forwarded it to my lawyer friend, just a buddy from college who once represented a band that sued itself. He replied within minutes. He can't sue for a wedding he ended. Let him waste his retainer. So I did. By the end of the week, Damon actually found a lawyer, or tried to. Victor texted me again, screenshot attached. She asked me to pay for her lawyer to sue me and you for emotional damages. I suggested he use his secret savings. He hung up. I laughed out loud, which startled the couple walking their dog below my window. Then came the friends, the mutual ones. Damon had started calling people from our wedding list, spinning a tale of financial abuse and entrapment. According to him, I'd controlled all the money, forced him into lies, and emotionally cornered him. He forgot that people remember things. Camille, his oldest friend and my reluctant bridesmaid, called me. Her voice was low and deliberate, the way people sound when they're done protecting someone. "Kira," she said, "did you know Damon told me 3 months ago he was going to leave you after the wedding?" I didn't say anything. He said he just needed to make it through the ceremony. wanted to collect the gifts first, then walk away and keep the deposits. He called it strategic timing. My stomach didn't drop. It just clicked, like the last piece of a puzzle you never wanted to finish. "Thank you, Camille," I said quietly, "for telling me." She sighed. "He's burning every bridge, Kira. You did the right thing." When I hung up, I opened the Notes app and wrote a single line. "He would have married me just to leave me richer." Then I deleted it. 2 days later, the headlines of my life shifted again. Victor called. This time, his voice sounded almost amused. "Damon's in trouble at work," he said. "Let me guess, HR?" "Correct," Victor replied. "Apparently your ex's new soulmate, Sarah, has a husband with lawyers. He subpoenaed Sarah's husband's corporate expense records. Guess who was footing the dinner bills?" I almost laughed. "The company?" "Exactly. Damon was using his corporate card for dates. His HR called it a misuse of company funds. Sarah's husband called it grounds for divorce. Damon called me, begging for help. I told him to call you instead." I pictured Damon's face, pale, sweating through charm that no longer worked. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry. I felt done. But the chaos didn't stop there. 2 days later, I got a call from Helena, the property manager of my old apartment building. "Hi, Miss Vale. Sorry to bother you, but we have a situation." "What kind of situation?" "Your ex-fiancé is here, demanding to be let into your old unit. He says you're hiding his grandfather's watch somewhere inside." I laughed before I could stop myself. "Helena, both his grandfathers died before he was born." "I figured," she said. "He's yelling about heirlooms and legal rights. Should I call the police?" "Yes," I said, "please do." 10 minutes later, she texted me. Police came. He left. Very angry. Apartment still empty. Sorry for the noise. Later that evening, Camille messaged me again. "He's telling people you stole a priceless family watch. Claims it's worth $50,000. Victor confirmed the encore. "He asked me to verify that story so he could file an insurance claim," Victor said. I reminded him both grandfathers were cremated, with their watches. He called me a traitor. The following week, Damon's chaos found a new stage. He sent a long, dramatic email to my work inbox, a rookie mistake, since I hadn't even started yet. "You destroyed my life. You turned my own father against me. I can't find an apartment because of you. You need to make this right." Attached was a photo of an empty storage unit, as if proof of his misfortune were a confession I should sign. I didn't reply. Instead, I archived it in a folder labeled Noise. Because that's what he'd become. Noise that didn't need meaning anymore. 2 weeks later, another message arrived. This one wasn't from Damon. It was from Sarah. Subject, you won. The email was 1 line long. "He's unemployed. His wife filed for divorce. I hope you're proud." I stared at it for a moment, then closed it. No reply, no satisfaction, just silence. That night, I stood on my small balcony and watched the city lights hum. Somewhere out there, Damon was still writing himself as the victim in a story he authored with lies. But stories like his always end the same way, in disbelief. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was just free. 3 quiet weeks passed. No emails, no calls, no drama. I almost believed he had finally accepted silence. Then Camille called. "Kira," she said, breathless, "have you seen social media?" "No, why?" "Because apparently you're dead." I sat up straight. "What?" She sent screenshots, a post from Damon's account. "I lost the love of my life in a tragic accident. Please respect our privacy during this difficult time." Below it, photos of us, black and white, filtered for grief. Hashtags like #GoneTooSoon and #LoveForever, and a link to a GoFundMe titled "Help Damon Heal, Funeral Expenses and Time to Grieve." He had raised $3,200 in donations. I didn't know whether to laugh or throw my phone. "He's faking my death for money," I said out loud to no one. Camille groaned. "People actually donated. They think you died in a car accident, or a workplace one. He keeps changing the story." Over the next 2 days, his posts got wilder. One said I'd been cremated in a private service. Another said the funeral was delayed due to investigation. Then someone commented, "Wait, didn't I just see her LinkedIn update last week?" That someone was Alec, a coworker from my old job. He commented publicly, "We literally spoke yesterday. She's alive, dude." The thread exploded. Dozens of people demanding refunds, others threatening to report him for fraud. Damon panicked. He edited the post, claiming it was a metaphor. "She's dead to me, not literally dead. You all misunderstood." But screenshots had already made their rounds, and once the internet smells blood, it doesn't stop. Victor called me later that night. laughing so hard he could barely speak. "Kira, you'll love this," he said between breaths. "Your ex just called asking me to confirm your death." "You're joking." "Oh no," Victor said. "He told me he needed proof for the insurance claim. Said since you were engaged, he must be your beneficiary." I couldn't help but laugh. "He really doesn't know how insurance works, does he?" Apparently not. I told him engagements aren't legal contracts. Then I reminded him that filing a false claim is a crime. The next morning, the GoFundMe was gone. Deleted, donations refunded, reputation in ashes. But Damon wasn't done embarrassing himself. A week later, I woke to 20 unread messages from old friends, all with the same subject line. "Have you seen this website?" The site's title glared from the top, mytruthaboutkira.com. He had made an entire page accusing me of abuse. Screenshots of our text messages, moments where I said okay when he claimed to be working late. He framed that as proof of control. Bank statements showing I earned more. Proof of financial dominance. Photos of the boxes I packed. Proof she threw me out with nothing. And then, tucked between his pity and performative outrage, were the screenshots he'd accidentally exposed himself with. Messages to Sarah calling me pathetic, bragging about using her for stability, and admitting he lied about his contributions to the wedding fund. He had posted his own confession. Within hours, the comments filled with disbelief and laughter. "Dude, this makes you look worse. She literally returned your money. You bragged about cheating. You faked her death for cash. Sit down." Even Aunt Martha, Victor's sister, the one who still used Facebook like a diary, left a comment. "Sweetheart, this website makes you look like the villain, not her." By the third day, the site vanished, deleted, but the screenshots lived on, bouncing through group chats like gossip that came with receipts. From there, Damon's world collapsed inward. Sarah's husband filed for divorce. Corporate HR suspended Damon pending investigation for misuse of funds and conduct unbecoming. His coworkers unfollowed him en masse. His mother stopped answering his calls. And Victor, stoic, composed Victor, texted me one final time. I closed the term deposit, donated it to a charity for single mothers. Figured some good should come from all this mess. I stared at that message for a long time. It felt like the universe finally exhaled. As for me, I stayed in my new city, started my new job, found a small cafe where they know my name, but not my history. There's peace in anonymity. Sometimes, when I pass the jewelry store on 7th Avenue, I catch a glimpse of the window display, rings lined like promises on velvet, and I don't feel anger, just clarity. I even started seeing someone, Elias, quiet, grounded, kind in the ways that count. We're taking it slow. No grand gestures, no borrowed vows, just two people who know what silence should sound like. Damon, meanwhile, is exactly where his choices led him. Jobless, friendless, living with consequences he thought were optional. The irony, he once told me, "You're too cautious, Kira, you plan too much." Maybe he was right, because planning saved me. I don't check for his emails anymore, don't Google his name, don't keep souvenirs of the storm. Some endings aren't loud, they're just clean. So if you're ever tempted to think revenge looks like chaos, remember this. Sometimes it looks like peace. Like a quiet morning where no one's name sits on your phone. Like the weight of a ring you no longer wear. Like breathing without explaining yourself to anyone. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. And when they try to bury you, make sure you're already building somewhere else.